Hello? May I have a one-way ticket to Monrovia, please? Yes. Cash? No. No. Thank you.
I've been here 30 long years. All my children born here. I've had a mighty good life. God bless the US of A. I sold my car, I sold my house. I got me plenty of
shall not rise again. Oh, Babylon shall not stand again. Babylon shall not stand again. 'Cause every day they're talking about the Liberian Civil War, and everywhere over Jalen, muddy rivers of blood, oh Lord. No matter who wins, Liberia is crying out. No matter who lose, Liberia still crying out. No matter who's right, they've gotta stop the fight. No matter who's wrong, the devil's still stronger. We want peace in Liberia, peace in Monrovia. We want peace in Liberia, peace in Monrovia. And Babylon shall not rise again. Babylon shall not rise again. Oh, Babylon shall not stand again. Babylon shall not stand again. Calling on Jesus Christ to save I and I. We calling on Jesus Christ to save I and I. We calling on Allah to save I and I. We calling Adonai, save I and I.
Cry, Liberia. Cry, Liberia. Cry, Liberia. Laissez les jaloux passer, afosir ni nana. Laissez les aiguilles passer, afoquer nana. Laissez les jaloux passer, afosir ni nana. Laissez les aiguilles passer, afoquer nana.
Embarase jonti lema, bedie nyande lema, na kona woro de lema. Embarase jonti lema, wojene jula lewe, bakari kone le woro ni. Embarase jonti lema, ami bade lema. Embarase jonti lema, ami de bade ne kirito. Mariamu bade lewe, mamu kone bade lewe. Aite faraga usumina, gausu kone kodi. Abidjan jule kodi, sigina ni moba kodi. Ninga kone la kaluwere, ndenyina jatere ko abada. Afudi anyonde we, aite ni boxo ni nema. Dirisa bamba leko, dani bamba kodi. Bamba betula bigirangira, aite ni bamba la kaluma. Eba. Su.
Jump from my knee,
my hope is that all of us as chapter heads and as the executive leadership will come up to some kind of agreement to have this whole process smooth and easy. All the emotions that I express here right now, it's not going to stop any process from going on. I can guarantee you. Whether we go left, we go right, at the end of the day, we'll come up with some kind of agreement. If the chapter's head refuse to pay these dues, it's not going to affect Famoli Morris Kuma at all. It's not going to affect Sekou Samuel at all. You know who's about this organization? But the only way the chapter heads agree, because you are the decision makers. If you agree that, you know what, if you want to go scot-free for the entire year, be my guest. We'll be willing to accept it wholeheartedly and we'll move on. Is it going to help Felmausa? That's the question I'm asking. So, honestly, gentlemen, you are the chapter heads. You make the decision, and we'll go from there. How about that? Yeah, chapter heads.
You want to give me the mic out?
As far as I'm concerned, this is a convention. We are to have a forum called by the president, who actually is the head of this particular convention. The convention has to be open. Once the convention is open, we will have motion on the floor and we will see the agenda for this year convention and we can take it from there. But to speak to the issue that the secretary just raised, I have written the Secretary General and the President, I sent it to the Financial Secretary out of courtesy, that the Board of Directors met and which actually encompasses the various states. We deduced that, as far as it's concerned, in conformity with the Constitution, we decided that there will be no retroactive payment of the dues as we have it. The $250 payment that we have is to commence now this year. All of the states agreed that we make the payment this year. That has been communicated to the executive leadership. For somebody to sit down now I don't want to be interrupted, but this particular organization has leadership, the executive leadership and the board leadership. Now we have communicated to you as representative of the various states, telling you that this is the aspiration of the various states. That has been communicated to the executive leadership as the consensus that came from the board. So if that is not respected, if somebody else has another view, then basically we'd like to see that. But as far as we're concerned, like the secretary just said, if the various states decide to take this, be my guest. We have already communicated that aspiration to you, Mr. Secretary, that we 2 days ago, and I sent a copy to you today. I sent an email to the president day before yesterday. When the board decided, when the board made a decision, we sent an email to you, and even it is 1 minute before the convention starts, that is a communication to you. I'm not talking to you. I am not speaking to you. I am not talking to you, Mr. Financial Secretary. I'm not talking.
You don't have to be emotional in this. You know.
Gentlemen, the message from the chairman is complete.
You have the right to speak now.
I'm just saying, can you please let me speak, and I will allow you to speak, Mr. Dollar, please. I'm not taking away your right as a chapter head. We are not in a position to impose on anybody. The chapter heads, members of the various chapters, Felmausa executive leadership, Felmausa board of directors are all members of this organization. All of us have some passion for this organization. That's why we are here. Like I said earlier, if the chapter heads decide today that they don't want to pay a dime for the convention, let them be our guests. We will go ahead with the convention. We'll go ahead with the elections, and we'll elect our new officials. The responsibility of Felmausa from then forth lies in either Mawadi Sise or Mawadi Belete hands. So if the leader and the coffers is with $0 in it, it's on them to raise funds for their organization. But honestly, Felmausa Constitution requires you, before this convention, that each chapter must pay $500. Some chapters within Felmausa, since Felmausa has been founded, have not paid a dime. $1 they have not paid to Felmausa. There are other chapters that have paid consistently from the birth of Felmausa till today. So you be my guest and tell me, is it fair for us to continue going that route, or we should reverse course and see what can we do to accommodate everybody? But chapter heads and members of this, you guys are the decision makers now. There is no board of directors now. There is no leadership. The membership of Felmausa is right here. You guys can decide the future of Felmausa today and right now. If you want for us to move ahead with $0, No chapter fee, be my guest, we'll take it. But this is where the situation is. Some chapters have not paid a dime. Since Felmausa was founded till today, they have not paid $1 to Felmausa. Not a dime. We got a record of that. There are chapters that have paid consistently from the day Felmausa was founded. Minnesota has been a consistent payer of the convention. Pennsylvania has been a consistent payer. But I'm not going to call chapters that have not paid a dime to Felmausa. Everybody knows. Please. Mr. Dollar, you say you want to say something in the back there.
Thank you very much.
With all due respect, Mr. Secretary, we have to understand that the future of Felmausa lies in our hands.
Correct.
And the election should not be to decide the future of Felmausa. We should understand that. The relationship was there before the election, and it should stay after the election. We should understand that. We should not be emotional about stuff when other people are speaking. We understand that some states have not paid a dime to Felmausa, but in every situation, we have to compromise to come to a conclusion. We need to understand that. As a chapter here, we came on the board, we decided that this year, every chapter state is going to be paying $250. It was approved, and it was sent to you guys. But like I said, if you have different take on it, it is good that we discuss it. We should not be so emotional to say, you know what, wait, you didn't send me this, you sent me this. No. I know the money is not going to any of you guys. We all fought to be where we are today. 1 year ago, the very financial secretary you're talking about, I collected, and Minnesota is here, we got our money. But it's not so much about Minnesota. One thing you need to understand, if you look at the state, for instance, of that in other part of the United States, because the school fee is cheaper over there, they went there and lived there and stayed. We took upon ourselves and went to North Dakota and asked them to organize themselves as an organization to be part of the federation. That's one. Number two, let's look at the case of Atlanta, Georgia. You know, people in Atlanta, Georgia said they don't want to be part of Felmausa. A couple of group of guys came together and said, you know what? This is a Mandingo team, we want to be part of it. They are not even equal to 10. So if you asking those guys today to pay $850, you are telling them, don't participate in the election. That's why you're telling them. Regardless, it is right for everyone all to contribute, but we need to understand some of those stuff. They're where we are coming from as board member. They're where we are coming from as chapter leader. We are now forcing the leadership to accept what we say, but you need to look into it and see that, you know, people, we need to compromise so we can move forward. We are all Mandingo. This is a Mandingo Federation. We should respect one another. We will always disagree, but we should learn how to agree. Thank you very much.
A lot of comments, and I want to give everybody a chance to air their views, but let's limit it to at least a minute or two. Simple for fun.
First of all, let me say thank you to all of you for your enormous contribution by just being here. Your presence here indicates that you are serious and you want to be partakers of events unfolding in our community. The idea that some states have not paid anything or they're not paying anything to Felmausa today is the wrong idea. First of all, if you look at Monday Association, of which I am the president, being here today cost us about $3,000. That money came from our budget. All right, so we brought all of our delegates here, put them in hotels. We pay for at least 13 guys that's going to be playing soccer for this team. That's all contribution. And then we have to attend all the Felmausa events, pay our money and come through there. So that's also money we're going to be paying. So to say that if we don't pay this Felmausa $250 or $500 or whatever we owe, we cannot even participate. All I can say, I can simply take all of my Jersey members, we go back to New Jersey. What are we getting from this convention? What is coming to the States? We pay all these dues. What is Felmausa giving back to us? Have Felmausa leadership ever thought about that? Have you thought about compensating the states, giving something back to the states? Oh, it's always about Felmausa. We always got to give money, but what do we get back? So we don't want the administration coming here trying to threaten us or to make us to pay something without even understanding the sacrifices that we've been doing. Not only the money we spent, we left our job for 3 days. All right? I have a store. My store is closed for 3 days. I'm not making any money. That's my contribution to Felmausa. So Felmausa cannot tell us that if we don't pay the $250, that money is insignificant. It's nothing. So I want you, the leadership, to understand that this is a decision that was taken by the board. And by the way, the board is Felmausa. The board is the states. Without the states, there's no Felmausa. Without the chapters, there's no Felmausa. Let's understand that. So the board, the chapters are saying that this is what we're going to pay for this year. So all the administration can do today is accept it. That is Felmausa. That's the decision of Felmausa. All you are doing is executing what the board is saying. Thank you.
Let me clarify quite a few things that people are saying. I want us to be clear on certain things. I'm trying as much as possible to let us not argue back and forth. I'm trying to avoid it as much as possible. But it's also good for us to put everybody on the record. For one of the chapter heads to say that there are 10 members in a chapter, and so they cannot afford to pay this. Felmausa Constitution says you must have 25 members in the chapter before you can be a chapter. So if that's the case, then the chapter is non-existent. That's one. Secondly, the decision to say this chapter must pay this amount was not declared by Famoli Kroman Leader Sekou Sano. This is something that is written within the Constitution. So if you default on your payment, it is the responsibility of the leadership to go back and collect the due. I'm not saying that we are demanding the chapter heads to pay. If the chapter heads decide today they want to walk out of this place right now and not going to pay, there's nothing Famoli can do about it, there's nothing Sekou Sano can do about it. So if the chapter heads among themselves, and you guys, I agree with your point. If you say you want to pay $250 now, be my guest. If you say you don't want to pay nothing, be my guest. Why are we still going back and forth? Let's move on, gentlemen. Seriously, I don't think we need to go back and forth again, trying to clarify and argue here back and forth. Please, can we move on?
You want for the thing to be the right way, you're not supposed to be responding to everybody.
If you want something right, look at the Constitution.
It
was our task to recognize who is a delegate.
We cannot give you a time. We cannot give you a time.
Not everybody is a delegate. Not everybody is a delegate.
Of election, and our emotions will be running through the windows. But we are here not so much because of individuals that we love. We are here basically for one thing, because of Felmausa and the Liberian Madingo community. Whatever you say, think of the community and think of your country. And think of the impact your actions will have on generations unborn. So I'm asking you to kindly conduct yourself in a way that will be acceptable and very much contributing constructively to the success of this program. And at this time, I will ask Honorable Kesley kindly to give us some preliminary comments on issues that have been unfolding a few minutes ago.
President, and thank you, brothers and sisters, well-wishers who might be in our midst. Actually, I think this is not the keynote address, but this is the key to open the door to the keynote address. Because if the convention is not open, there will be no keynote. I'm very honored for you to permit me in this informal section to make one or two remarks. Felmausa is a very great experiment. You cannot imagine how many years your older brothers, your fathers spent looking to create an organization of this nature. And that is why, like I communicated with some people on the internet yesterday at a private level, experiment to fail. The president just said it correctly, this is election year. And believe you me, I know about election year tension. I know that's the time husband and wife may almost divorce. But
as long as we think of the institution and think 20, 30 years from now, when we are gone, and we can look back and say this is an institution we left, we will be able to make some of our anger subservient to the interests of the organization. So I came basically to appeal to you. Look, even if you want to be president for Felmausa, do not think this election is a life and death matter. If I don't be president this time, I can never be president anymore. Believe you me, some people gain more honor when they don't succeed in becoming president of an organization than if they have been elected. There is a way you carry yourself, you still carry the honor. So the contentious issue I have been observing, and I've kind of like whispered in the ears of the decision makers, is the issue of payment of dues. I'm told that, like in all organizations, I think you heard that there are 2 library associations in Chicago and etc. The issue becomes arrears, payment of arrears at election time. Most times, election time is the time people want to participate because they want to vote for somebody. But before that, they have not met all the other previous payments because they practically have not been very mindful. And collecting dues at election time is a tough issue also because it has become a big load. Look out, $1,000 to pay or $800, you just may not make it. But it all depends on what you who own Felmausa say. If your feeling is, look, we cannot afford to collect arrears, so be it. My only advice is if you have a situation like this, again, I heard that the chapters went to the board. Truly speaking, I'm not an expert in the Felmausa law, but that is not the process. The first step, if chapters have a grievance or have a recommendation, is to the executive. The executive deliberates and maybe gives a response, or refuses to deliberate. Then at that station, you can take recourse to a much more senior organ. That's how it's supposed to be. So I know a lot of gaps have happened, and we are here today. But our negotiating in the background say, look, if the majority of the people, which it seems to me I could be wrong, delegates do not, particularly the chapters, do not want to be held accountable to pay all the arrears, well, this is your organization you are building. Then let us pay what is acceptable and begin the convention. That was my appeal to all sides, and it seemed to be working. We are at the Felmausa Convention. Delegates have arrived. Of course, we are still to qualify delegates. We are assuming that delegates are here, but after you go through the process, then we will know now how many delegates are here, whether you have my people, as we go through this convention today. I came purposely not to speak to you because I've spoken at Felmausa functions before, but to help in the exercise, the backdoor negotiations, so that this experiment is not thrown back 4 years, having come 4 years forward. If that is the general will, that they pay the $250 plus $100. Because right now the convention is not in session. We are just doing preliminary so we can get into session. Then the secretary and the other people, the president will take over and they go on with the formalities of the convention. That is my appeal. And from time to time, we'll be talking to people who may have issues in an informal section so as to keep us on course. So I want to thank you very much, Mr. President. I want to thank you, Chairman Roman.
I think you've heard him clearly. And I want to make a statement quickly before we can go into the next process. Especially for those who will win this election. Because no matter what happens, there's going to be a winner. And as a matter of fact, everybody's going to be a winner. There's no loser anyway. But the whole idea of due payment is not for the outgoing administration. It's actually meant to financially stabilize this organization in the interest of the incoming administration or official administrations. But we cannot continue to make this a habit. We are crippling the institution. And if you can recall, almost every convention, we've waived some kind of due. Because some state somewhere does not want to pay. Ask yourself, is it the culture that you want to continue to carry? At some point in time, we must tell ourselves, enough is enough. We might compromise today for the interest of the community. But I just want you to think about it, that this is not something we want to continue for the rest of the life of Felmausa. At this point, as the Honorable rightly stated, the money is not for Mohamed Duple, it's not for Joseph Sako, it's not for Sekou Sano, it's for Felmausa. And there's no Felmausa without you. And you make the decision, especially when we come to this convention. Before we start the official program, there should have been delegate registration, which was not done, and we have to do it before we start the program. So we are going to ask you, if it is at your will and pleasure, $250, which is the current due plus $100 each delegate. Oh, delegate fee, $100, which is $350 per state. If it is your will, let us make that known by hands up, and then we can move forward. And if it's not your will, then we'll get to that point. For those who are in favor of this convention,
it's like everybody.
This body here wants to drop this, the past due. Yeah. So at this juncture, we still have the board in existence. So we're Honorable Chairman of the board. Yes, sir. The body has come to some conclusion in an appeal. Yes, sir. But the board being the highest decision making. In the absence of the convention. The convention is not open yet.
Honorable President, board directors, delegates, those that have traveled far and near, the Honorable Distinguished President of ULAP and the elder statesmen in our midst, the Honorable former Vice President of, I'd like to say on behalf of the National Board Director, thank you very much for this particular understanding. It is our wishes and it is our aspiration that this organization move forward. The decision that you've come up with today, this process is highly appreciated. Thank you very much, sir.
We'll call on the Secretary General and the Financial Secretary. And as you can see, we have the delegate tags here. We'll call upon states, you come in. Since we've agreed to pay our current arrear plus the delegate fee, the $100 plus $250, let's try to do that speedily and then we can start this program. Distinguished chapter heads, respected delegates, and then we have Honorable Anthony Kesley, the hardworking members of the convention committee, under the tutorship of Walima, and every other member of Felmausa and invited guests. We want to thank you. And at this juncture, it is our pleasure, on behalf of the National Administration of Felmausa, Honorable Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I come in. No. Yeah, me come feeling now.
Yes, sir.
I would like to officially declare this. Honorable A.B. Kroma, former chairman of the board of directors of Felmausa, says at this time And on a serious note, there's no longer a board of directors of Felmausa. We now have the General Assembly that will make all decisions from during this convention until we can have a new set of members of board of directors for Felmausa. So, so at this juncture, we would like to present the agenda, or quote unquote the program sheet that you have in front of you, to the General Assembly so that we can have it open. If there's any need for suggestion, we accept a motion for suggestion, or if there's no need for suggestion, we accept a motion and a second for us to adapt the agenda for this convention and move on to deliberating on issues that are of vital concern to our community. Thank you.
I move that we go ahead with whatever the president is.
He's a delegate.
Oh, sorry.
No, delegate. Mr. President, as a guest speaker, members of the board of directors, it is a pleasure. I know I'm not on this. I'm not on the program sheet to make any comment here. But as outgoing chairman of the board of directors, I thought it would be befitting for the program director, for the program people to include me after serving this organization for 4 consecutive years to allow me the opportunity to bid farewell to this convention. I was elected by this convention for a 4-year term. I am not a representative directly of any particular chapter when I was elected as chairman of the board of directors. I was a product of this particular gathering. So I thought it was only befitting that my last second as chairman of the board of directors, I should have the opportunity to address this particular forum. And I want to seek your indulgence to have the opportunity to bid you farewell in a very orderly manner. I have had the opportunity to serve our people since we came to the diaspora. Yeah. That you gave me to serve our people. I will ask the program directors, the convention program planner, to give us an opportunity on the program to provide the opportunity to address this forum in a very orderly manner. I don't want to hijack the opportunity at this point to do it. I'm seeking that you allow me the chance, a space to address this particular delegate. Thank you very much.
Honorable delegate said, so have we received a motion to adopt this program and second to move on?
Mr. President, the state of Minnesota,
Honorable former chairman of the board, we would like to apologize. That was an oversight. You definitely have your, at this time, I don't know, be 30 minutes or 15 minutes. It's going to be, see at item 7, if you look there, it's supposed to be there, but that is blank. It was a typographical mistake. You should have come right there. So it's not, it wasn't intentional. Yeah. Introduction, guest speaker, statement of Felmausa address, state of Felmausa address, remark from the former chairman of the board, and then various remarks, and we'll close the program and move on to other things. So at this moment, we would like to call on the constitution that we have, and he knows that. So it's not an oversight, he's the former chairman now. So, but let's move on. I mean,
the co-chair take over.
We got no co-chairman, so
there's no board of directors now.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know about that.
The delegates. They're going to have the election tomorrow.
After the convention.
On our agenda is opening prayers by Imam Sheikh Mohammed Kenneth. Imam Kenneth, please. We'll go to Brother Gofi.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. First and foremost, I will say this is our Madingo program. I will start everything in Madingo. Inshallah, kat di mo bani mo fa bema muna bale blala kaya de maya utoe ka aya wali ni go utoe no kanano bi ka fo ko moni nyona da ala break a kingi na ben mona deni ko mi mani mo atala la mo da masala ka fo ala mo besaba maro surtout ne fefe ala be matenye mo ala mo ko mi mani bi mo tama ka fo e dan kina e tale hafu mo buju ala ke wolele afun be ka sa mo bujuma ala ke adne mafanele a surtout ne fa ala mo tauma ala mina mwana alu bela kana na boyfe no kana mwana kafu ya no kama ke mo kile bi di masara mani mo adela ala ki wala kala mo kuma kandi nyongo ka kabesa wa ma ala weke kala mo kuma kandi nyongo ka kabesa wa ma ala weke ni mo ka se no ka be watina kel suma kuma lo signoro mo da fe fiata ala kitabu ba kono kama sudo ala la kusa ala dien mo na kami vola e besa wa ma wole mo susu yana ni na kuma lo signolo a mo ka do politique lo ala mam e ba fo mo maka fo do ke jama ni mam sami bere kuma lo signolo anaji ale la ne lo wa mo be so jama minoni mini ala diani katimi ne koka di ala mo mulu mo temani ala diana mola ale mo we do alo malo di masrahmani amo mo woni be kalo mo da masala kadio wu ke ko sa ala mo besawa ma mo ko do o do wule kani di ala mo ka mimi ke kala mo besawa ma ala weke kala mo besawa ma ala weke kala mo besawa tile ala weke di masrahmani kala seyt na madé mala ala weke a'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim bismillahir rahmanir rahim لقد جاءكم رسول من أنفسكم عزيز عليه ما أنتم عريض عليكم للمؤمنين رؤوف رحيم فإن تولوا فقل حسبي الله لا إله إلا هو عليه توكلت وهو رب العرش العظيم di ala ma marchondo ala la ni masamani ka ala ke ma garantie ma ko no ala weke kala ke ma garantie ko no ala weke kala ke ma garantie ko no ala weke di masamani jona ko ala fe mo be dum to kala mo dum lo ko to ala weke di ala ma ko al fatiha al kanani al fatiha ne ma kala di gina be ma ala weke kala ke sabule kama kana yano ala weke a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim bismillahir rahmanir rahim alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين صراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. اللهم بارك آمين.
Good afternoon, ladies. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Walima, the Washington Area Madingo Association, we want to welcome every one of you for coming over here to attend. Knowledge that you left a long distance to come over here for the cause of Felmausa, not for any other reason. And we all believe that we have one thing in common, which is Felmausa, and that's the reason why every one of us are here. Coming over here right now, Walima is really excited to welcome every one of you here for being here today. We want to say thank you very much for your time, and we want to also say welcome to be here. Washington, D.C. is a very beautiful area. We have a lot of dramas going around here. We have the White House, the Congress, and so many beautiful places to see here. Right after the convention, our memberships are waiting to take anybody here for a tour around Washington, D.C., so you can have some historical memory and take some pictures. So welcome again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next week, our family Secretary General Felmausa, outgoing Secretary General Felmausa.
I hear you was former chairman. You said good. I'm going out, and I'm going out swinging. I'm not just going to give up easily. That was just a joke. I'm just kidding. Let me, first of all, extend my sincere thanks and appreciation to everybody that came from far and wide. I know a lot of you came from far distances. North Dakota, Detroit, Missouri, New Jersey, New York, Minnesota, Atlanta. Just want to say thank you. Texas. See, Texas is not waiting back there. I know how much money you pay. Arizona, that's even farther. It's not easy, you know, to go in your pocket deep to travel from that kind of distance just to come and, you know, camaraderie with your brothers and sisters from around the country. From the leadership perspective, we just want to say thank you for coming. That's the first thing. Whether you're a delegate or you're just a regular person that came from all the way behind, wherever you came from, we want to say thank you for coming. This is what we envisioned when we started Felmausa. We wanted to see that our brothers and sisters, all of us, can come together one time a year just to come and discuss the future of the Mandingo community. It's nothing easy. Everybody here got some level of commitment to this organization. Some of us go into our pocket and spend money to travel. That's commitment in itself. Other people sit on the internet and write all day. That's another contribution. So everybody has a role to play. The soccer players are here too. They're going to play soccer for us. That's good. So let's make this weekend a fun activity for everybody. If you're here for the politics part, we'll play the politics. If you're here to play soccer, we'll play the soccer. If you're going out like me, if you're going out like the chairman and myself, then you know we'll be going out. But just want to say, Mr. Honorable Guest Speaker, I want to really, from the bottom of our heart, to say thank you too for turning up. I know the time I called you, it was 11 o'clock in the night. You still told me, you say, you know, I'm not thinking about you also, you know.
Straight out of combat civil democracy. Whoa! Okay, so, you know, I just want to say thank you to everybody, and let's have fun this weekend, please. No violence, no fighting, no enemyship. Let's make the best candidate win. Thank you.
Outgoing. He will take the formal title. We have introduction of our guest speaker, Ms. Makagwe Ability.
Our guest speaker, Mr. Anthony Kesley, was born in a place called Yamakamnu Town, Kordu Boni District, formerly within the Wajama District of Lofa County, Liberia. He is a Liberian and resides in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Our honorable guest speaker is married to Ms. Kordu Kesley, with whom he has been since September 1983. And he has 7 biological children, 3 girls, Kowo, Zene, and Wata. 4 boys, Benya, Varfali, Doseni, and Bobo. 4 of the children are by wife Kolu and the other 3 from a previous relationship. Our guest speaker has a master's degree in social work from the Temple University in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, a bachelor in public administration from the University of Liberia. He got his high school education from the William V.S. Tubman High School in Monrovia, Liberia. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest speaker, Mr. Anthony Kesley.
Thank you. You may be seated. Please sit down. I was hanging head with the chairman. I found it difficult to call him former chairman until I see a new chairman. When the young lady started reading, so I was like, is she going to read that whole resume, which might be longer than my speech, you know? But thank you very much. Honorable President Mohamed A. Dukle and executives of Felmausa, and stubbornly again, the chairman, I'm being stubborn, and members of the Felmausa Board of Directors, the EULA officials, and if I may be specific, I have 2 members of the EULA National Board of Directors in this hall. Well, technically, let me say 3. And those 3 are Honorable Francis K. Duana, Honorable Abraham Kalilu Kroma. By way of specific information, Honorable Duana represents Liberian Association of Pennsylvania. Honorable Kroma represents the Liberian Association in North Jersey. And of course, Honorable Vamba Fofana who represents the Staten Island Liberian Community Association, distinguished chapter leaders, delegates, friends, well-wishers, ladies and gentlemen. My appearance here today to keynote this august assembly of my fellow countrymen, and more specifically, my brothers and sisters of the Mandingo ethnic group, represents a kind of history-setting development in a very peculiar way. Perhaps very few of you, before Honorable Secretary General spoke, knew that I stand before you this moment to keynote this honorable function, having received the shortest notice ever in my life that I have ever gotten to perform a task of this great magnitude of historic importance. When, just about 3 days ago, I was contacted to fill in the shoes of someone who is traditionally a younger brother to me, but in practical life terms, my very senior government official, I truly was caught unawares. I had long received an official invitation to this convention as national president of EULA, long before, but not necessarily as the guest speaker. So here I was scratching my head about this unexpected but novel challenge. On the one hand, as an older brother to the originally selected keynote speaker, I assured myself that, well, I could have more to say in line of traditional Mandingo history, culture, tradition, norms, etc. This I felt confident that I could tackle. But on the other hand, when I thought about the size of the shoes this young brother wears today on the larger stage of our nation, I thought to myself, these Felmausa folks are really going to miss a lot. That is because where Brother Minister Amara Kone stands today, believe you me, my people, he is seeing more than we are seeing, and he is hearing more than we are. Someone standing where he stands today has 1,000 ears and has 1,000 eyes. Carrying such stature assures one of several gallops in the many ditches of life, and at times several catapults on high terrain. Yet from another angle, I figured that I had spoken at quite a few Felmausa functions already, and that a new voice, that voice informed by very fresh experiences in involvement in statecraft, could have put much more at the disposal of you, the delegates, tackle your duties today. And so I thought Minister Kone certainly would have had an earful of fresh and palatable food for thought for our realities today as an ethnic group in the context of our common patrimony. Circumstances, however, robbed us of that opportunity, and regrettably, he is not here with us today with such rare goodies that we so crave for. Be it as it may, lamentations over the absence of our brother, as unfortunate as it is,
will not be what you will want to stuff your intellectual baggage with at this moment, particularly at this critical time as you settle down to confront the burning issues facing our federation and yea, our community at large. Thus, let me register my profound appreciation to you, Mr. President, and the leaders and membership of Felmausa for considering us to address this historic forum, to fill this huge vacuum left by the understandable absence of our senior national official. And so, I stand before you today to make an effort to do just what I did when I recently had the occasion to address delegates at the 21st National Convention of the Federation of Local Associations in the Americas, FLA, in Detroit, Michigan. On that occasion, I was tasked with making a presentation on the critical topic of reconciliation as it relates to Lofa County, where I hail from. At that speaking occasion then, and at this one today, I can only promise to give my proverbial 2 cents in hopes of breaking your minds and igniting a more productive conversation that has a fulcrum in introspection and soul searching. Many a times, we have had speakers at Madingo functions, be they Madingos themselves or members of other ethnic groups, laboriously striving to deliver incisive lectures, primarily in frantic efforts to debunk the sad notion that Madingos constitute an alien tribe to Liberia. Speaker after speaker has tried so hard to assuage the Madingo people's uneasiness about and consternation over the citizenship question mark, which has been kept aflame by people, one would say, are baptized in prejudice and paranoid about defending what nobody knows. And certainly dying to protect what they actually do not have in the first place. Today, I want to take a rather different route. And I promise, mine will be logical sophistication. In fact, you will soon come to discover that some of the points that will be touched in this remark are just a matter of re-echoing some already expressed exhortations that you've heard many times over. That I chose to walk this path springs from the simple fact that I find it critically important that such statements are made at very important gatherings, such as the one carrying such representation as this convention today. Well, grant me clemency, therefore, if this hurriedly produced keynote remark drives you into boredom and the resultant head sinking into what we normally call gone fishing. I take off and proceed from the conclusion that actually this tired old proposition about Madingos being foreigners is actually substantively defeated. It now simply mirrors what I call a decaying shell of a long departed insect that was once a cocoon. You know, the insect becomes a cocoon. Later on, it sheds the cell and flies away. The myth about Madingo not being foreigner is like that shell that is already decaying when the insect is gone long since. the stubborn fights of our national history, fueling the tenacity of knowledgeable and unprejudiced scholars and common folk, struck the chord and dismantled the glue that once tightly held that myth. My fellow countrymen, the trenches in which we have our citizenship defense forces still lying in wait truly have now become obsolete, superfluous, and thus are largely useless. I repeat, the trenches that we have, what I call our citizenship defense forces, still lying in when you go to war. I know Manigo men knows what they call war. Yeah. Truly. You're in the trenches. The trenches we're in now have become obsolete, superfluous, largely useless. All those terms meaning the same thing. I just want to impress you. It just means you don't move from there. It's not useful anymore. Accept it openly or not, the fact remains that Liberia had a long era of harassment and the shaming of Mandingos. This was followed by a 14-year civil conflict, which unfortunately developed a subtle subsidiary objective of annihilating or driving away the Mandingos from Liberian soil. But let us face it, my brothers and sisters. At the end of all this, where are we today? Fellow Liberians, for those of you who don't know, and for your information, Mandingos are today still in almost every county in the Republic of Liberia. And like members of other ethnic groups, Mandingos are in our government and are appreciably represented in every other facet and station in life's manifold endeavors in our country. So therefore, I dare to throw out a challenge to you, particularly the younger generation. Let us evacuate our forces from those old and obsolete trenches and redeploy them in the new arena of productive action and interactions in our dear Liberia. Where is that arena? That arena is where all Liberians are productively engaged. That turf on which Liberians are airboying it out daily in the competitive marketplace of ideas, a battle place for competence, ability, eligibility, productivity, innovation, and indeed, that vast terrain standing in demand of selfless sacrifice to the healing and rebuilding not only of our Mandingo community, but mainly our dear fatherland. As a modest pat on the back, I can cite the recent medical mission to Liberia and the Felmausa scholarship program as shining examples of the kind of salvos, you know, those who control the artillery unit know what salvos are. the salvos, you know, that we should be launching from these new dug-out trenches of patriotism. We need to do more of this in many areas, diversifying into other areas of critical need in our country. That country which finds itself populated by a people that stand in need of almost every exigency of life. My urge to you, my dear brothers and sisters, is for us to set a new focus. Let us pull back our forces from the diminished battle against those who were trying conspiratorially to rewrite the history of our country. That country for which our forebears, our forefathers, in locked arms with patriots of other ethnic groups, so tortuously labored, bravely fought,
and died even when the state was yet in its infancy through the several decades since. But as we pull back our forces from those front lines, let us turn the microscope to ourselves. Let us probe our own actions and or inactions that may continue to contribute to stagnating us in the realm of alienation. Nation is of ourselves as an ethnic group or of others that we dwell together with. Let us acknowledge that all battle terminologies are clearly not suitable in this new era. I am not sure whether they were ever suitable in the first place. The use of repugnantly negative descriptive terms against our fellow country folk, such as when we say "dan," cursed, or kafiri, disbeliever or sinner, which only Almighty Allah can determine. Or the funny one, labi yale, which leaves the question, who are you? These kinds of terminologies must take leave of our vocabulary. For the mere fact that such designations do not augur well for peaceful coexistence and integration. We equally must disabuse ourselves of this perennial false notion that all Mandingos in Liberia are Liberian Mandingos. This is not only fallacious, but it at times stands in ridicule to our Mandingo tribesmen who come from other neighboring countries. I stand very dumbfounded as to what makes us assume, and at times assume arrogantly so, that Mandingos from Mali, Guinea, Ivory Coast, etc., who are in Liberia, are in fact ashamed of or not proud of their native lands. What makes us think that all Lomas, Kisis, Peles, Mandingos, Manos, Gios, Kram, Mende, etc. in Liberia are necessarily Liberians? A fallacy of equal untenability is that which implies that Mandingo means Muslim, and that all Mandingos are Muslims. This reaches its critical low down point when it goes to the extreme level of implying that if you are not a Muslim, you are not a clean or fitting Mandingo. We have to disabuse ourselves of such notions. It is irrefutably true that the overwhelming number of Mandingos subscribe to Islam as their faith and way of life. We who are remain ever submissive to Allah in total gratitude for his bountiful blessings. That, however, does not vitiate or minimize the hard fight that there are Mandingos who found faith in and are firmly grounded in other religious convictions. A Mandingo belonging to the Baha'i faith, as weird as it may look, is no less a Mandingo that is a Christian, or yet still less than a Mandingo that is a Muslim. Leads me to exhort all of us, therefore, to eschew bigotry and instead submerge ourselves in the sanguine practice of viewing other people from the angle of a mirror image. My dear brothers and sisters, if I did not express to you how encouraged and emboldened I am with the astronomical surge in the number of young people from our tribe who are plunging themselves into academia and preparing themselves. Boy, oh boy, my people, I am startled every minute I log onto the listserv. Truly, I am so moved at the avalanche of forceful voices that is pouring out from our community onto these battle forums for ideas on the history, current status, and future direction of our country. Though many times, when I get on these listservs, I find some of you in these very halls. Some are what? In this very hall, putting the proverbial pepper in my own eyes. Overall, however, the unprecedented increased number and the deafening loudness with which you have chosen to come out is commendable. That you have come out of your isolationist safe havens and comfort zones is so highly laudable. Well, this commendation is notwithstanding how painful the pepper that lands in my eyes sometimes turns out to be. As you delegates settle to decipher the various paths on which to set our federation, bear in mind that the interests of Liberia must reign supreme. Never forget that, like it or not, Mandingos can never exist as an exclusive island. This boast that we inhabit that part of the earth proposed by men to be called Liberia. Similarly, Allah destined other ethnic groups to inhabit that very same place. Now check your mind. Will it not only be logical, rational, wise, and a submission to the will of Allah that we strive always to make such a living together peaceful, comfortable, productive, and even more convenient? I firmly think so. And in so thinking, I implore you, representatives of this great Felmausa experiment, work on the ways and means as to how we can achieve that end. I thank you very much.
Brilliant and very inspirational speech. Honorable A.B. Kroma, former Chairman, Board of Directors of Felmausa. From the chapter stage of Yula, our dynamic and ever-potent female lawyer, Councillor Jabate. Chapters, friends, Felmausa, ladies and gentlemen. Today marks a very important day in our lives as Liberian Mandingos and in the history of Felmausa. Being here today at the 4th Annual Convention of Felmausa, I want you to take the time to commend yourself for remaining steadfast and focused on the bigger picture and greater goal that is in the interest of our community and country. Before going to the state of affairs of Felmausa, and this is very passionate and emotional for me as an outgoing leader of this organization, as I reflect on the journey from where we've come and how far we've been and how we got there. All of this was done first and foremost through the mercy of the Almighty God, who gave us the opportunity and guided us to lead you in honorable service. Secondly, God manifested this service to you through individuals who are selfless, who truly have this community at heart. I mean, individuals who deserted their families. Felmausa and the Liberian Mandingo community without any monetary benefit. These are individuals who would stay up 3, 4, 5 in the morning. They would lose their jobs. They would risk their marriages. They would desert their families to serve this community, this noble Liberian Mandingo community. As I once stated, and I've always said, and I will say it again, I truly consider myself just the lucky one to have been surrounded with a group of committed individuals who operate not based on subject but object, not based on prejudice but principles, and not based on their own interests but in the interests of the community. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to recognize the executive leadership of Felmausa. Thank you. Whatever success stories you might have heard or you may hear about the outgoing leadership, it's not because of Mohammed Dukle. It's because of these individuals. As I said, I'm the lucky one. They do the hard work, and I take the glory. And I'm very grateful to all of you, not only for the service that you provided this community, but the cordial relationship that we've established. I no longer call them friends, I see them as my brothers. And as you can also tell, even at the executive leadership level, I am the youngest. But I've never once been overlooked because of my age. I've always been revered as president of this organization, and it takes men with heart to do that, and this is what they've done. Of the National Board of Directors, or the former Board of Directors of Felmausa. This administration, like any other administration, has had its own pitfalls. And there were moments where we found ourselves in heated debates and disagreements. But even in the midst of those moments, we still had people who were committed at the level of the board of directors who wanted to see Felmausa move forward. And they always did everything in their power to see the progress of this organization. Please also recognize the efforts of the board of directors of Felmausa. There are also people in the community, and you will count yourself, I will not have to call your names, who believed in service through silence and secrecy. There were people who volunteered their time, and you did it because you loved your community, you love your country, and you want success for generations unborn. Please commend yourselves. When I think of Felmausa, it's like a marriage. You get into it, it takes time to understand. But over time, you get accustomed to each other. You build a relationship. And that's what Felmausa is for me and for all of these individuals. And it is our goal that whoever wins this election or ascends to the leadership, since everyone is a winner, you will take the time to understand and learn. I understand we had our pitfalls, but even in the midst of failure, there's a lesson to be learned. The mistakes that the Duglin-led administration made, I'm admonishing the incoming administration not to make those mistakes. An Islamic scholar called Imam Sakawi, he said, فَمَنْ كَانَ مُسْتَنًا فَلْيَسْتَنًا بِمَنْ قَدْ مَاتَ فَإِنَّ الْحَيَّ لَا تُؤْمَنْ عَلَيْهِ الْفِتْنَةُ. He said, whoever wants to follow a path, whoever wants to take a lesson, he should take a lesson from the dead, because the living has not been tested. You cannot take a lesson from a future leadership because that leadership has not been tested. So as an incoming leadership, I want you to take a lesson from the past leadership, both good and bad. If there were ways that we addressed the board that was not right, you try to learn from it so that you can make it better. Because it's not about you, it's about Felmausa. If our outreach to the community was poor, I challenge you to be productive for the sake of this community. If for any reason this administration lacks accountability and transparency, it will be your challenge to be accountable and transparent to your community, so that all those who come after you will be very satisfied to emulate your good examples. Hence, the state of affairs of Felmausa. We took over this leadership, and you all know it was a very heated convention that year. Alhamdulillah, nobody got hurt. But it actually brought a true sense of commitment in our community. It was the first time that politics was being discussed in every corner of our community. And I thought it was a great thing. People were expressing their ideas in many different fashions. And at the end of the day, our community went to vote and the leadership emerged. There were some who stayed on board because they did not consider themselves losers. There were some who bitterly refused to commit to the success of the community and therefore withdrew and withheld all of their support to the leadership. So it was a leadership we took on, faced with so many difficulties. The transition was not that easy. But again, with the help of God, manifested through these individuals, we were able to start on some footing. We took over Felmausa. It was an organization that was not legally recognized in the eyes of the laws of America. And therefore, so many things, in many capacities, Felmausa was limited. And we thought, as a leadership, that the only way we could be financially stable, or we could have some legitimacy in the eyes of those who might have intention to give us, was to first seek some legality or means of getting Felmausa to be legitimate. And we took upon that task. And today, as we speak to you, Felmausa is not only a registered organization in the state of Pennsylvania, but Felmausa stands as a proud 501c3 organization within the United States of America. And so for the new leadership, the road has been paved for you to seek and solicit all forms of support because you have the legal grounds. We expect nothing less from you. Today, you can mail something to Felmausa without sending it to Mohammed Dukley's house, without sending it to Richmond Corner's house, or whoever the incoming leader will be. because Felmausa now has a permanent P.O. Box address. And this is very important. Tell the leadership will change hands. And our goal behind the P.O. Box is to make us to understand that we are creating an institution and not individuals. The individuals should be concerting their efforts around this institution to make it strong and make it better, not the other way around. So every time a leadership took over and then customized the address of Felmausa to that person's personal address, then you marginalize Felmausa and pocket it in that person's hand. So even if the leadership came true, Felmausa has a P.O. Box, and we hope that that P.O. Box can be maintained for the rest of the life of Felmausa at the will and pleasure of the leadership. Felmausa, as some of you will note, when we talked about due payment, Felmausa has a bank account. It's no longer Losini or Paliku or someone keeping Felmausa's money. And as a matter of fact, we hope that the new leadership will even put into place better financial structures that will safeguard going forward the finances of Felmausa even better than we've done. It's a very active bank account, and I believe some of you are even told if you've not paid your due, go to Felmausa bank account and deposit your money. Don't give it to Sekou Sana. The election is over. At the will and pleasure of the incoming leadership, every document and every cent will be turned over in a very transparent way. It is not our property. These are Felmausa properties, and only need to be in the hands of those who lead this organization. Currently, we can see that the membership of Felmausa has increased. In other words, there's more positive awareness and public awareness about Felmausa than it was 2-3 years ago. There are many individuals today who are convinced and they've seen reason to be a member of Felmausa. And I can tell you this, these are not just individuals who are confined to the United States of America. These are individuals who are all across the world. If you went to Liberia, even Liberians who don't reside in the United States or Liberian Madingos, or even to put it the other way, Liberians who are non-Madingos, they are so anxious to have some understanding as to how they can become members of Felmausa. So this is the level of dignity that is attached to Felmausa. So we have 12 chapters. And as I understand, we have some applications, or we have some of the new chapters who have expressed interest to become part of Felmausa. If I'm right, I think 4. So this tells you that we are on the right path, and we must continue to remain steadfast to prove our critics wrong. This leadership, we're able to apply for the U.S. Postal Service status, which also brings a lot of benefits to Felmausa as an organization. There are many times, if you're involved, if you're a member, and you have that privilege, you get discounts on so many things. You get access to other things that other organizations will not have. And that application has been done, and we're waiting to hear from the U.S. Postal Service. And hopefully Felmausa can be granted. Ladies and gentlemen, we're just a little close to $2,000 in terms of a budget. And that's why I find this very emotional. Because these young men you see here, they will spend their own money day in, day out just to serve you and to serve the community. Felmausa, without any hesitation. Felmausa will have money, they will refuse to touch it. And they will use their own money in service to this community. This is the first Liberian Mandingo organization, but I would like to boast. It's so carefree about putting its financial statement out there publicly on the internet for everybody to see. and not only putting it out there, it's the only leadership or organization where leadership that will even follow up with the National Board of Directors to discuss the financial issues, a financial statement so as to address issues that need to be solved. It's been a leadership that has been very transparent and accountable to its people. You found that, or you thought that we were not accountable and transparent. I'm begging you in the name of God to do better than we've done, so that you can bring pride to our community. There are two things that our community will need, primarily to succeed. And those things are envisaged in education and healthcare. If you were to educate everyone in this room, notwithstanding they are not healthy, their education means nothing to them and those around them. On the other hand, if everyone here happened to be a very healthy person, but then lacked the education, whether formal, vocational, they might not be able to maximize the health that they've been endowed with. So those are two cardinal issues that when we took over this leadership, we thought and we found very important. And we really want to take this time to commend the previous leadership, honor the tutorship or the guidance of Honorable Richmond Conner. This is a leadership that was far-sighted in putting together an educational scholarship fund to educate. So when we came through, it was not our goal to. We took over this leadership. We didn't think it would be wise enough, and I want the new leadership, our incoming leadership, to listen to what I'm telling you. This is very important. When we took over, we didn't think it would be wise enough, and we did not think that it would be in the interest of our community to throw out everything that Richmond Conner has done just because it was Richmond Conner. We took the time to assess the things that were done and learn from it and follow up on the things that we thought were in the interest of our community. And one of those things happened to be the Educational Scholarship Fund. We follow up with it and increase the number of scholarship recipients. And today, as we speak, we have about 111 students receiving scholarship. From various colleges and universities through your efforts, through your support. So we hope that the new leadership will continue this scholarship process and even make it better. One of the things that we discussed and we consider as an achievement, pending the will and pleasure and the ability of the new leadership to follow up on, was that we reached some deal with the Mandingo Caucus in Liberia that it doesn't make sense for Felmausa to offer scholarship separately while the Mandingo Caucus is offering scholarship separately. Because if you think about it, it's a waste of resources. The very students who are receiving Felmausa scholarships are the very students receiving Mandingo Caucus scholarship. And if you think about it, when other Liberian tribes think of Liberian Mandingos, they don't look at us as Mandingo Caucus of Felmausa. They look at us as Mandingos. So it is only befitting for us to undertake such endeavors together so that we can maximize the little resources we have. And we thought that it made sense. And it's something that we consider pending the approval of the incoming leadership from the side of the administration and the board of directors. To make the scholarship better and coordinate with the Mandingo Caucus so that we can even reach out to more people than we are reaching out to, since in fact we'll be adding 2 or 3 resources together and making it in a more efficient and effective way. As we go further with the educational fund, we also have put together plans as to how we can project increase in the level of education we have in our community. And as you heard Honorable Cassidy said, he's proud that young men and women of the Mandingo community are now really gravitating towards education and seeing it as a means to success. And this is what we want all of us to look at. It's not an end in itself. Education, just like money, is not an end in itself, but it's a means to success. And it's a foundation for success. So this administration has put in plans that will be passed on to the next leadership as to how we can better project the increase and enhancement of education in our community as a people. Then we move on to the health side of our achievement. When we took over, in as much as we attach importance to education, we also attach importance to health. And we did some preliminary assessments. There were so many ideas coming through. There were ideas of establishing a clinic, building a clinic, a diabetes center. So many things were coming through. But you have to start from somewhere. And we even, through some deliberation, realized that there's so many of us who live in America, who have insurance, but don't really even understand the importance of our health. Many of us will only go to hospital when our illnesses become so critical. Many of us don't believe in regular checkup. And like the common librarian saying, you ask the librarian, man, how are you? They say, I'm okay, only my head is heavy. But the headache this time is a result of something. And there are so many of our community members who don't have insurance. So we thought that maybe the first place to start is to do some healthcare in our community, in the United States of America. So we put together a pilot project that would have gone to the various states. And we decided to begin with Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And we did a health outreach to various institutions. Through the dynamic efforts of this leadership, members of the leadership, as a result of that process, more than 20 health institutions appeared and provided services to more than 300 Liberians, Mandingos and non-Mandingos alike. And believe this when I tell you, there were people at that health fair who had high blood pressure and they came in with soda. And when you have high blood pressure, you also have medical background. Caffeine is something you have to get away from. In fact, there was a specific instance where the pressure was so high, according to one of the medical practitioners, if that person had discontinued, they would have been immediate. And they did not even know that soda was against the pressure. There were people